asphalt, giving it more grip. That's what a wet setup would be like, even if you were on a slick.
Negri. Now look at this, the battle for lead. Pappas is coming under increasing pressure from Porsche.
You see him on a defensive sort of line, too. He's kind of right down the middle of the road, not giving Terry much room to think about it.
Remember, this was the breakthrough round, and there's been a pass to third as well. Negri has got Taylor, and the Doran is starting to stretch away already. Oswaldo Negri enjoying these conditions. And remember, just a week ago, it was highly questionable whether that team, that car would even be here at Barber Motorsports Park.
And I should say, the reason I say it's not wet enough for rain tires, those rain tires in the treads, which are called tread sipes, they dissipate water, but only if there's standing water on the racetrack. Right now, you see there's no roost detail, there's no standing water on the racetrack. It's just plain slippery right now.
Brian?
As you talked about the gamble on setup in the 10 car, I checked in with 01. They are not on any type of a compromise setup. If it rains, they will stay with the same spring and shock package that they ran in the dry, only put rain tires on. The guys down at the 2 car, the Crawford car that Andy Wallace is in, they did compromise on the setup somewhat, about 50 pounds softer on the springs up front. That makes the car not ideal in the dry, but when come rain, when they put the rain tires on, it should be good to go. Doris?
Another thing that they do, the drivers can do in the car, is that as it starts getting slippery, they'll take the brake bias, which is proportioning between the front brake and the rear brake, and they'll run it more toward the rear brake. Since they can't brake as hard, they can't transfer as much weight to the front, needing less brake up front.
Third car in shot there, the yellow Crawford is Andrew Davis. However, he is a lap down after having to come in earlier. Meanwhile, this battle goes on between David Donahue and Doug Goad. That's the battle for 6th. And tucked behind those guys is Paul Wagner and the RX.com Doran. Doug Goad on the inside of Donahue, not quite close enough. Elliott Forbes Robinson just ahead of this pair, maintaining his 5th position, and still nothing in it at the front of this race.
Here comes Goad trying to get a setup, but it's not going to happen that route.
Crawford versus Fab Car, Pontiac versus Porsche in that particular battle. Goad thinks about it on the inside. Donahue gives him some racing room, but not quite enough. And Goad's not close enough to David. These drivers have their hands full, and as you can see there, the wet tyres are at the ready in case this rain increases. Stay with us. We're on the road to nowhere. Come on inside. The Grand American 250 continues here at Barber Motorsports Park. While there's only 4 seconds separating the top 4 in the Daytona prototypes, let's talk GT for a moment. And the former Rolling GT champion, Bill Auberlen, is on his way to getting his 2nd GT title this year with another solid result today. But look who is hounding him. It is the Maserati of Washington, Maserati Light, GT Light, with João Barbosa behind the wheel of the 33. The Portuguese driver has really come to the fore in the last 12-18 months and has done a stunning job so far, not only in qualifying, Chris, but he's doing a nice job here now.
Lee, Joao has been so excited about this program. Early on, that car just could not compete with the BMWs. Now he thinks it can, and this car is definitely the specs for what we're going to see in 05 and 06. So right now, the BMW still has a little bit of an edge. He thinks the BMW still has a little bit more power. As for the racetrack, he says the dry line is good. However, when you try and get offline to pass a car, it's very slippery out there.
Certainly exciting times for Emil Asentato and Dr. Steve Earle and Glenn Marquis, who runs the team, to see this machine that has been refined week after week, race meeting after race meeting, running a fine, strong 2nd place. There's the margin. 3rd in GT is the 23 Horizon Motorsport Pontiac. Let's talk about the 60, and yes, it's in Brumos colours. A tribute to the Brumos racing team from Gunnar Jeanette and his father Kevin, as Gunnar races with Marino Franchitti this weekend. It's Gunnar behind the wheel right now. They sit 4th in, rather make that 5th in class. Behind there's the Pontiac just going through shot there. The yellow and blue Pontiac GTO with Charles Espinlau behind the wheel. Talk about sudden improvement for those guys too.
Right, no doubt about it. That Pontiac is again one of the 05 type of cars that we'll be seeing all of next year, 05, 06. This is a car that will be running next year. They're taking this year to develop it. It might not be up to the standard of some of the others, but by next year, that will be a very good car.
Charles Espinlau is a driver who has made his name in Speedway Challenge, but he's doing a pretty fine job here, Cal.
He is, and he had a great run going at VIR, as you remember, Lee, and unfortunately had a blown head gasket that day. That was the engine problem they had last week. Got those straightened out. They actually have a second car already built for next season. Got much better weight distribution, different gearbox configurations. They're looking for really great things with that Pontiac for the 05 year.
Chase is on, though, because look who's hounding him. Is the 22, Boris said, is starting to zero in on the back of the Pontiac. Remember, Boris said earlier, if it rains, look for us. These cars are mighty in the wet.
Yeah, they are. They're really good cars. But Boris, after the race started on rain tires, it didn't rain. He fell way back, getting the slicks that he needed. And right now, I mean, it's still just drizzling, but it's not enough to do anything with a tire choice yet.
It's just frustrating, Dorsey, as a driver, when it's here nor there, it's not completely wet, it's not completely dry.
It's the worst of times, really, because it's really slippery. If it should rain really, really hard, then you come get the rain tires, and you can deal with it. It's not a problem. But when it's doing what it's doing right now, you just never know what to expect. Every corner is a different bit.
And Boris is really starting to apply the pressure now to Charles Espinal. Pontiac versus BMW here. They stretch their legs. Boris will switch to the inside. This is the key overtaking point on the track, and he's done it. Boris said moves into the top 3 in GT. And it's important for him to do that because he's fighting his teammate in the 21, Bill Ormond, for that GT crown. There's only 4 points separating them coming into this race today. And here comes Andy Wallace in the background. He's some 40 seconds back on our race-leading car. But that's nothing for Wallace. We've seen him reduce deficits like that in the past.
Andy, when he finally got done with the racetrack, was about a half a lap of rears to the rest of the pack of cars. So he is, in fact, he's charging all right, but he's still a long way to go.
Rain appears to be getting a little heavier too. Conditions not great, and we're under our second full yellow. What is it for?
It might be because of this rain. I don't know if they're doing that. I don't see anybody off anywhere. They might be giving these guys a break to come and change if they're going to do that.
Oh, there's a car here.
There it is. Wrong again, Dorsey. There's a car stuck in that fence.
It's the 80. It's the 84 that's in the wall. Problems.
Yeah, he's
big
gone
problems.
Gone through the there he is right there. He's in the gravel trap and not going to get out of there by himself.
Paul Mortimer's driving the car at the moment. And from here, it's a little tricky to judge it, Dorsey. Maybe it doesn't look major. He slid off and maybe just nudged it in there.
Yeah, we'll get a good look at it here. The gravel trap's going to really slow him some, I think. Hasn't hit anything yet. Very fortunate, very fortunate. I think the car's okay. He's just stuck in the gravel.
That happened this morning during this morning's warm-up with Bert Frizzell in the Michael Shank Doran. Went off the track and didn't hit anything, just pulled up before the tire barrier.
Now, see, this is a teaser. This yellow right now, some guys are going to come in and take some slicks or take some rain tires right now, but it's too early. It's still too early. It's not raining hard enough to have standing water, but somebody will make a mistake. You watch.
And this is where your race can be made or broken.
Absolutely. I mean, you go a lap down one to the yellow, you won't. There's the pace car coming out. But unless, I mean, those full weight rain tires, unless there's really water, puddled water, they're useless. They're no good until they get like that.
Look at the top of the concrete wall in the pit wall. That shows you just how wet it is. SunTrust car is in. Calvin's there.
It is, and Wayne Taylor brings the number 10 car in. They're going with fuel, and they're going inside the rear. I believe they're going to be doing a suspension change. We talked about this team being on full wet setup, and I would imagine they're trying to get to that rear roll bar, make an adjustment there for Wayne Taylor. He's probably trying to stiffen that thing up. He may have too much understeer in the car right now. Fueling has been done. They're not changing tires. But let's get down to the pit lane. I think the 01 is in, Brian.
Calvin, Scott Pruitt Max Pappas did bring the 01 in. They're going to take fuel only, no tires. They will stay out on slicks.
That's the right choice right there. Get the fuel you need. It's not time to go to rain tires yet, but the drivers will be whining.
And did you see further down pit road, Terry Porcello beat Max Pappas out. It looked like the Bell 54 dived in and beat the 01 out. Let's talk about the SunTrust car more with Calvin.
Well, they're still working on the rear end of this car. I'm not sure how long Bill Riley's going to allow that mechanic to be under there. Certainly under a caution period. It's about a 3-minute caution lap, I believe. So they're going to try and analyze this. He's struggling under there. Imagine the heat that is emanating from that right rear corner of the suspension and the engine bay itself. Looks like the work may be done, and the tire's going back on. So Wayne Taylor should be out of here. Let's go back to Brian.
Calvin, the 27 car is in. The Doran Lista, Didier Taze is out. Andrea Montermini is in. The Formula One driver will now take this machine out onto the track and do battle under what is, at best, very difficult conditions. It is slick down here and catching a lot of people out, guys.
Now this is the first racing lap we will see for Andrea Montermini. The 10, the SunTrust Riley, has been released. Montermini was denied some racing laps at VIR a week ago when the engine blew on the Doran Lister. The Lexus powered but this week everything running well. Now Wayne Taylor rejoins the racing circuit. Due to those pit stops, Elliott Forbes-Robinson has inherited the lead.
Hit this lap for fuel.
I can see right now that Riley's calling the car back. This is 10 car's going to come back in for another pit stop.
And that was Bill Riley there, hot on the radio. And we will talk to him with Calvin when we return. We need to squeeze in a quick break. Pressure on the SunTrust team. There's a championship on the line. It's been an amazing 2 years of sports car racing with the Daytona prototypes, and it's only getting bigger and better. Welcome back, everyone, to Barber Motorsports Park, and a wet Barber Motorsports Park. There's some troubles continuing for the 10, we believe. Let's get an update with Calvin Fish.
Well, they went into the back end there to do that suspension adjustment. They were trying to stiffen up the rear sway bar. The mechanic struggled with it. He didn't get it locked down. I just spoke to Bill Riley. They're setting up again. They need to get the 10 car back in, lock that down, and they're trying to ask Wayne Taylor right now whether they should put Max in and go to sticker tires. Max is looking at these sticker tires. They're shaking his head. He's not sure what the deal is.
Well,
so we'll wait and see what happens.
Cal, we just saw the onboard shot. Taylor is loosening his belt, so Angelelli will get in.
See what he did right there was he disconnected this little device right here is his drink tube. He can take that off. Now he's loosening the belts. He's got them off. And he'll be handing over to Max right there, standing when ready.
And you have to give credit to Max Angelelli. He has been completely open, completely frank about his dislike for wet weather driving. He has not been looking forward to this race today. If it was wet, well, it is wet.
And I can't blame him one bit because although I did very well in the rain, I hated every minute of it. It's not much fun driving one of these prototype cars in the rain.
The axe is being strapped in. And the pressure on this guy has been incredible.
Well, the team are now taking the deck lid off the car lead. They're going to have to go in from the top side and try and adjust there. He's gone in there where the link is. You can see him connecting it up to this right rear corner. There's a pin. It should be a quick change. Oh, and then they drop the car on the ground. That makes it difficult once again. So they're struggling once again there to get that pin in. That's essentially connecting the roll bar up. So it was disconnected. It's now connected for Angelelli to get back on track, Lee.
Well, this is incredible, but it's incredibly fortunate that it's happening under yellow.
Yeah, he can take the time to do it now. With that bar disconnected on a dry track, there would just be too much roll. The back end would be all around the place and you'll be getting oversteer. And I'm sure that that's what they just addressed right there.
Now, how long is it going to take Angelelli to get his feet in line, so to speak, to even though it's still we're under slow caution laps, once we go back to racing, how long is it going to take Max to get up to speed?
Well, poor Max, I mean, he's got the worst of conditions. As slippery as it can possibly be right now. It's his first laps out of the pits, and he's on slicks, which is the right call, but it's just going to be very slippery. He's going to have to watch himself for a couple laps here.
He's clearing his visor. There were some drops there when he was waiting to get into the car, making everything right while he is under these caution laps so he can get set to charge and pounce. The 36 TPC Porsche, and let's get an update on these guys with Brian Till.
Well, Lee, down here in SGS, he got very busy. Lee Keen in the number 14 Autometrics Porsche brought the leading SGS car in. Tires and fuel, he's back underway. And then the two TPC entries, the 38 of Andy Lally and the 36 of Michael Levitas came in. Randy Popes got in the 36 car and left. But we did see damage to the front end of the 36 car. And I think he may have been involved in that incident with the 84 car down in turn 1 that brought out this yellow. So we'll just have to wait to see what the officials have to say about that, guys.
We said this is all about pressure and performing under pressure. Well, guess what? The 10 have just copped another negative impact and a slap on the wrist. This guy has gone too fast on pit lane, Calvin. Angelelli must perform a drive-through penalty when we go back to green.
That's right, Lee, and we understand, Wayne, that Max has got a penalty with speeding in pit lane. Talk about the decision there. That's a brave move to try and get that sway bar adjusted during this type of racing. Do you sort of like second-guess that now, Wayne?
No, we've normally been able to do that certainly under the caution, but I guess there was a little hang-up there, but at least we got out in the same lap. It's really unfortunate that Max got caught speeding in the pit lane because we have to pit under the green. That's still a long way to go.
How tough are the conditions, bearing in mind you got the pressure of the championship and everything on the line here today? How hard can you push in that opening stint, Wayne?
Well, you know, I was being very cautious. You know, I thought to myself, if we could hang in there with the leaders, we got up to third, quite okay once we got past the traffic. And if we can at least be hanging in there by the time we can hand over to Max, you know, the race goes down the last 10 minutes, so I don't want to put any risk there.
All right, Wayne, good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks.
Sports car racing is all about staying on the lead lap, and the number 10 SunTrust Pontiac is certainly on the lead lap. No worries about that, but he has to do that drive-through penalty when we come back and go green. Welcome back to Barber, and you join us at the most appropriate time. Yes, thankfully, we are back to racing. Green flag flies, and Elliott Forbes-Robinson leads the way from Dungo. And then it's David Donahue, hot in pursuit ahead of Hurley Hayward. That's the top four. It's a Pontiac Crawford leading another Pontiac Crawford and two Brumos Fab cars. Donahue really putting the pressure on Dungo now.
Garrett going on the outside of that EFR is going to take that position away.
This is for the lead, you're watching it. This is how it looks for David Donahue. Can he get a run on Doug Goad? Not quite as they head down into the museum curves.
Oh, that's really close right there, riding on board. Almost a nudge, not quite.
To see the two Brumos Porsches running in the top four like this is winding back the clock to last year, and I'm sure it's relief and a motivational boost to the team here this weekend. Especially after some frustrating results from 2004. Look at Donahue working over Doug Goad. Back on board with David Donahue. Listen to the Porsche scream. Great throttle modulation through there, right out of turn 15, over the front straight.
Now he's got a good run and head down toward turn 1. I don't think enough to make anything stick. Keep an eye on that Elliott Forbes-Robinson wing piece that's hanging off the side there too, because if that should go away, the back of that car will loosen up quite a bit.
It's just an effective block on the left-hand side, isn't it? Behind David Donahue and Hurley Hayward, here comes Andy Wallace. The charging Sidco Crawford will be with these guys momentarily. And remember, all of these cars have to change, have to take up that extra time to change drivers. Wallace has already executed his driver change, and the SunTrust car with Max Angelelli is performing his drive-through, his mandatory drive-through penalty.
That for speeding on pit lane on his pit stop, and that's a costly error when you consider that it's green flag racing. He's losing a lot of time along pit lane here, Barber.
And look at this, Wallace and Borchella have already got by Hurley Hayward, and Pappas is trying to come up with those guys as well. This is an earlier incident involving the 06 and the 39 of Andrew Davis.
Looks like Andrew Davis just pinched down too much trying to get underneath the Corvette and spun. Just barely touched the Corvette and it went around as well.
Wallace is charging. He's almost with David Donahue now to battle for the third spot. Terry Borchella is running with him. And they have now, understandably, Grand American Road Racing officials have already announced this is a timed race as the 6 of Walter Negri Jr. charging hard with Terry Borchella. The two Dorans doing good work in the top 6.
And it's incredibly hard to make a pass here. Even if you run quite a bit faster, you catch up to the back of the car that you're trying to pass, and that brings your momentum. And all these cars are accelerating off the same rate. And it's really hard without getting yourself in trouble to make a pass.
Race leader is Elliott Forbes-Robinson. The orange Daytona prototype is Doug Goad. The Red Bull machine you ride with is David Donahue. Then it's Terry Borchella in the Kodak Easy Share car. Ahead of us, Walter Negri Jr., Hurley Hayward, Max Pappas. That's the top 8. And the top 8 are only separated by 5 seconds.
Yeah, this is what we're becoming used to here. These prototype cars running right on top of each other all the time.
Out of the museum curves, they stretch their legs up the short back straight before the S's. A very physically demanding circuit. Really never get a break on this track.
It's tough for a driver because on the straightaways, that's when you can look in the mirror. That's when you can take a deep breath, take your hand off the wheel and start to get the circulation going again. But not on a racetrack like this. You're in a corner all the time here.
Watch that yellow, black and white Daytona prototype, the Kodak Easy Share Doran. Terry Borchella, Jim Bell and Christian Fittipaldi are more motivated than ever. Smoke again from the Sidco Crawford of Andy Wallace.
Yeah, we've been watching that. It just puts smoke every once in a while. It doesn't seem to affect anything. Andy trying to get that look right. Not going to happen this time.
This is how close they are. Look at that. Top 5, less than 3 seconds. Nicely bunched up. Negri now has a look at Terry Borchella. He's not close enough.
But God, it's impressive. My ex-teammate, EFR, the oldest driver in this race, is just smoking. Yeah, he's getting away from him.
There may be 2.7 seconds blanketing the top 5, but there's nearly 2 seconds first to second. Osvaldo Negri thought about it.
Ozzy took a look and he almost locked the brake up there, thought better have him touch back in.
We've seen great performances from the Crawfords, the Rileys, and the Dorans. But what about this Porsche Fab car? David Donahue running strong, hanging tough in third.
Listen to the gear changes. 6-speed gearbox running almost 9,000 revs out of that Porsche.
And he's, while trying to mount a challenge on Doug Goad, fending off the hard-charging Andy Wallace.
Of course, Goad running a Pontiac motor with a 5-speed transmission. That's all they're allowed to run is the 5 in that configuration.
I tell you how much this Crawford has impressed Doug Goad. He has got that Spirit of Daytona machine up for sale at the moment. I said, why, Doug, you're not getting out of it? He said, are you kidding? He said, I'm selling it so I can buy a lighter one, an updated one for next year.
That's a good point. I mean, the newer ones that come out are a little bit lighter. Not a great deal, about 100 pounds, but 100 pounds is a second a lap.
Let's get an update on these two guys scrapping over second with Chris Neville.
Lee checking in with the 58 and the 09. Both these teams have been able to stay off pit lane. They haven't been confused by the weather like so many other teams, so that's why they're running up front. And since they've been out on the racetrack under caution so much, both teams now feel that this is just a one-stop race. So they, at the rate they're going right now, they're not burning much fuel. They think they can do it under one stop, so these guys are feeling pretty confident here today.
That Spirit of Daytona car, they've had 3 top 10 results. Best has been a pair of 6. Look at this, you're right with Terry Borchella now. They know that they can't win the championship like they did last year. Terry knows that personally. So now it's all about victories. And let's hear from the man who will take over from Borchella in a few moments' time.
It's a great run by Terry Borchella to put it on the front row, but Christian, you're probably one of the only guys in pit lane here that actually likes to drive in the rain. These conditions right now, they actually tougher than in a full downpour?
Yeah, I think they are. They're not very comfortable for the drivers out there because it starts raining or drizzling, and then the track gets damp, and then after a little bit it dries up. And I think God hasn't really made up his mind what he wants to happen this afternoon. I would rather either have it completely dry or completely wet. It doesn't really bother me, but either one way or the other.
You guys have to be excited by the front row start. It seems like you've really come on these last couple of races. Big hopes for a podium finish here, I would think.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I think Terry's doing a great job, and I think that the whole team did an awesome job these last 3 races now with this one. Unfortunately, in the last 2 races, our car wasn't really that great, but this weekend we got it really good, and we're looking very good right now.
Well, they are looking good. We talked about how they guessed right for qualifying, and I think they've got a good car for the race, too. As these pit stops work out and Fittipaldi gets in, that 54 car, good go towards the front, Lee.
Speaking of that 54, Brian, let me tell you something Jim Bell told me earlier today on how much the bar has been raised as far as level of performance in this series. Last year when they were victorious here at Barber Motorsports Park, the level of maximum throttle application was 49% of the lap. This year, it's 61% of the lap around here at Barber. That bar is being increasingly raised higher and higher. This series is getting tougher and tougher.